My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 36 years old, and I'm an emergency room nurse. For most of my adult life, I thought being prepared was the same thing as being safe. I kept emergency numbers taped inside kitchen cabinets. I labeled the medicine drawer. I checked the locks before bed. I carried backup phone chargers, spare keys, and enough snacks in my car to survive a minor apocalypse. My husband, Marcus, used to joke that if the government ever declared martial law, I'd have a color-coded binder ready before the announcement finished. I laughed with him. What I never told him was that I learned to live that way long before I became a nurse. I learned it in my childhood home. And 11 months ago, that old instinct to prepare for disaster failed me in the worst possible way. My younger brother Tyler nearly killed my 8-month-old daughter. 5 weeks later, he stood outside my house drunk, pounding on my front door and begging me to let him in. And that night, I had to choose between protecting the person I had spent my whole life trying to save and protecting the children who depended on me to tell the truth. I chose the children, but the choice cost me almost everyone I had left. To understand why, I need to take you back. I grew up in a little town called Bellwood, Pennsylvania, where everyone knew everyone's business and nobody admitted to knowing anything. My father worked maintenance at a paper mill. My mother, Elaine, worked part-time at a florist shop and spent the rest of her life managing our family. My father drank. Not occasionally, not socially. He drank every night. But in our house, nobody said that. Dad was exhausted, Dad had a stressful job, Dad had back pain, Dad had trouble sleeping. Those were the words my mother used. The bottle on the kitchen counter was never a bottle. It was his medicine. The smell on his breath was never alcohol. It was mouthwash. The reason he missed birthdays was never because he'd been drinking. He wasn't feeling well. Everything had a softer name. Everything except the consequences. When I was 15, my father fell asleep at the dinner table with his face in his mashed potatoes. My brother Tyler was 11. He looked at me and whispered, "Is Dad sick?" I remember putting my finger to my lips. "He's just tired." That was the first lie I remember telling for my family. It wouldn't be the last. My father died when I was 21, liver failure. The obituary said complications from heart disease. At the funeral, relatives shook their heads and said he had worked too hard. My mother cried into a tissue and accepted every comforting lie anyone offered. I stood beside the casket knowing exactly what had happened. And I said nothing. That was our family specialty. Silence disguised as loyalty. I left Bellwood 2 months later. I went to nursing school, worked nights, lived on cheap coffee and frozen dinners, and eventually built a life that looked nothing like the one I'd escaped. Tyler stayed. He was 17 when I left. And he carried something I didn't understand until much later. He had spent his entire childhood watching our mother protect our father from consequences. So when Tyler started drinking at 19, he already knew exactly how the system worked. You made a mistake. Someone cleaned it up. You apologized. Everyone pretended the apology meant change. Then you did it again. Tyler was funny, charming, and impossible not to love. He could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with 10 new friends. He remembered birthdays. He brought flowers when someone was sick. He could make my daughter laugh until she hiccuped. And he was an alcoholic. Both things were true. For years, my mother refused to accept the second one. He just has a problem with stress, she'd say. Then it became grief. Then depression. Then bad friends. Then a difficult breakup. There was always a reason, never a responsibility. Tyler lost a restaurant job after showing up drunk. My mother called his manager. Tyler got a DUI. I paid part of his legal fees. He promised me he'd repay me. He never did. Then he missed another court appointment. Mom said he was overwhelmed. I wanted to scream. Instead, I helped, because that's what we'd been trained to do. When my first daughter, Lily, was born, Tyler became her favorite person. He would get down on the floor and build ridiculous towers out of blocks, just so she could knock them over. When she turned 5, he bought her a purple bicycle. For a while, I thought maybe fatherhood in reverse had saved him. Then came the night of Lily's 6th birthday. Tyler arrived 2 hours late. His eyes were red. His speech was too loud. He stumbled into the backyard table and sent an entire tray of cupcakes onto the grass. Lily started crying. She looked at me and whispered, "Why is Uncle Ty acting weird?" That night, I drove to his apartment. I sat across from him at the kitchen table. And for the first time in my life, I stopped being his sister and became a boundary. You cannot drink around my children, I told him. He stared at me. That's all I'm asking. I'm not demanding rehab. I'm not asking you to fix your whole life tonight. But if you're gonna be around my kids, you stay sober. He promised. He actually cried. I won't ever do that again. For almost a year, he didn't. Then something happened that made me believe the impossible. Tyler got sober. Not performatively, not for 3 weeks. He started attending meetings. He found a sponsor. He stopped disappearing. He got a job at an auto parts store. His hands stopped shaking. His eyes cleared. He called me one Saturday morning and said, "Claire, I think I'm finally getting my life back." I wanted to believe him, so I did. Maybe that was my mistake. My second child, Nora, was born the following winter. She was tiny, loud, and perfect. At 8 months old, she had round cheeks, a crooked little smile, and a laugh that made Marcus stop whatever he was doing. By then, I had convinced myself Tyler was safe. 5 months sober. That was the number everyone kept repeating. 5 months. Mom said it constantly. 5 months, Claire. You have to acknowledge that. I did. But I still watched him. Not because I wanted to distrust him, because I had learned that hope doesn't cancel evidence. Then came August. Our daycare closed unexpectedly after several children got sick. My hospital was short-staffed. Marcus was working out of state on a construction project and couldn't come home. I had no backup. I told Tyler he couldn't watch Nora. I said it clearly. No. He looked hurt. My mother was sitting beside him. She said, "You don't have to leave her with Tyler. Leave her with me." That changed things. My mother was 64. She had raised 2 children. She had never missed a school event. She had been there every time I needed someone. I trusted her, so I agreed. But I gave her rules. "Mom, you don't leave the house." She nodded. "Tyler doesn't stay alone with Nora." Another nod. And absolutely no alcohol anywhere near her. My mother squeezed my hand. "You don't have to worry." Tyler looked at me. "I understand." 4 days later I left for work. Nora had been teething all night. I prepared everything before I left. Her medicine, her frozen teething ring, her bottles, her sleep instructions. I even wrote down the pediatrician's number. My mother laughed. "You've been a nurse too long." I kissed Nora. Then I left. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A message from Mom, running to the pharmacy. 20 minutes. Tyler is rocking her. She's fine. I froze. My first instinct was to call. I did. No answer. I texted my mother, "Come home." Nothing. 20 minutes passed, then 40. At 1:17 p.m., my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was different. "Claire, come home." I didn't ask why. I left work. I drove home faster than I should have. When I opened the door, my mother was standing in the hallway crying. Tyler was beside the bassinet. He was swaying. Nora wasn't. She was lying completely still. Her skin looked gray. Her breathing was slow. Too slow. I picked her up. She felt cold. And then I smelled it. Alcohol. Not on Tyler. In the bottle. I looked at the half-empty bottle of formula on the table. My hands started shaking. I smelled it again. Whiskey. I looked at Tyler. "What did you give her?" His eyes filled with tears. She wouldn't stop crying. "What did you give her?" "Just a little." My mother stepped forward. "Claire, it was an old family remedy." I stared at her. "What?" Tyler swallowed. "Grandma used to do it with us." My stomach dropped. I remembered my childhood, the bottle my mother used to prepare for my father. The stories, the excuses, the things nobody named. Tyler looked at me. I put some in her gums. Then she finally calmed down. I didn't scream. I became a nurse. I called 911. I gave them Nora's age, weight, symptoms, and the suspected substance. Then I counted her breaths. 1, 2, 3. Too slow. The ambulance arrived. I rode beside her. At the hospital, the emergency team moved with terrifying speed. They checked her blood sugar. It was dangerously low. They warmed her, started an IV, ran blood tests. I stood outside the treatment room while people I worked beside every day fought to keep my daughter alive. That was the strangest part. I knew exactly what they were doing. I knew what every alarm meant. And none of that knowledge helped me become less afraid. Finally, Dr. Patel came toward me. She looked exhausted. "Nora is stable." I nearly collapsed. Then she continued. "Claire, you understand we have to report this." I nodded. "I know." But I didn't understand what that report would do. 2 days later, a child welfare investigator sat in my living room. She inspected the medicine cabinet. She checked the locks. She interviewed Marcus. She talked to Lily. My 6-year-old daughter told her, Uncle Tyler makes mommy sad. Then she added, he was drinking. That sentence broke something inside me. Not because it was wrong, because it was true. A detective came next. I gave him everything: the bottle, the messages, the timeline I'd written, the instructions I'd left for my mother, the hospital records. Everything. He read my notes twice. Then he said something I will never forget. Your brother says it was an accident. Oh, of course he did. Tyler claimed he'd only used a tiny amount. He said he'd been trying to soothe her gums. My mother supported him. He never meant to hurt the baby. That became the new family phrase. He didn't mean to. As though intention could erase chemistry. As though Nora's blood knew whether Tyler loved her. The state charged him with child endangerment. Not because I demanded it. Because the medical evidence demanded it. And that distinction mattered. But my family didn't care. Within days, I became the villain. My aunt called me cruel. A cousin said I had destroyed Tyler's future. My mother cried. You could tell them you don't want to press charges. I told her I couldn't. She said, you can try. No, Mom, I can't. She stared at me. You are his sister. I'm also Nora's mother. That ended the conversation. For 3 days. Then my mother called again. Family should forgive. I said, forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. She didn't answer. A week later, she invited me to dinner. She promised it would be peaceful. No lawyers, no arguments. Just family. I almost said no. Instead, I made one smart decision. I left Lily and Nora at home with Marcus. Then I drove to my mother's house. Everything looked exactly the same. The same dining room. The same curtains. The same wooden table. The same framed photograph of my parents. My mother had cooked roast beef. Aunt Sharon was there. 2 cousins. Everyone was smiling too hard. Tyler wasn't there. At least, not at first. Dinner began. People talked about weather, work, someone's new roof. Nobody mentioned the hospital. Nobody mentioned Nora. Then Tyler walked in. He was holding a glass of bourbon. I stopped breathing. My mother looked at him. She didn't say anything. Neither did anyone else. Tyler sat down, put the glass beside his plate, and started eating. I stared at that glass. My entire childhood was sitting inside it. I finally put down my fork. Tyler. He looked at me. Why are you drinking? He shrugged. After what happened. He smiled. Not a happy smile, a tired one. Almost mocking. She's okay, isn't she? The room went silent. He took another sip. She's still alive. Something inside me became very still. I stood. I understand now. Oh, my mother looked up. Claire, sit down. I shook my head. No. I walked out. I sat in my car for almost 20 minutes. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. I was finished. There is a difference. That night, I wrote my statement for the court. I didn't ask for revenge. I didn't ask for prison. I asked for protection. Then I changed the locks. Updated Lily's school pickup list, added photographs, removed every relative I didn't trust, and I stopped explaining myself. Tyler didn't like that. He started leaving voicemails. At first they were apologetic, then angry, then cruel, then apologetic again. I saved every one. I didn't answer. 2 weeks later, he appeared at my hospital. Security called me. I walked into the lobby and saw him standing near reception. He was crying. Claire, please. People were watching. You ruined my life. I said nothing. You can fix this. That sentence almost made me laugh, because that had always been my role. Fix Tyler. Fix Dad. Fix Mom. Fix everything. But not this time. Security escorted him outside. That night, I sat in the staff bathroom and cried for 5 minutes. Then I washed my face. Went back to work, and kept going. 11 days later, Tyler showed up outside Lily's school. He stood near the fence, calling her name. A teacher saw him first. She got Lily inside. When I arrived, Lily was sitting in the counselor's office. She looked scared. Mommy, is Uncle Tyler mad at me? No. Did I do something? I hugged her. No, sweetheart. None of this is your fault. But inside I knew something had changed. This was no longer about my brother. He was coming after my children. I filed for a protective order. The temporary order was granted. Then I learned Tyler had listed a witness. My mother. I stared at her name for a long time. Then I called her. Mom, are you really going to testify for him? She sighed. I have to tell the truth. Your truth. He's not dangerous, Claire. He's sick. He put alcohol in my baby's bottle. He didn't mean to. I closed my eyes. There it was again. The family language, no malice, no intention, no harm, no problem. I finally understood. My mother wasn't protecting Tyler from the consequences. She was protecting the family story. The story where nothing bad ever really happened. The hearing came in December. I wore the same black blazer I'd worn to my father's funeral. Tyler sat beside his attorney. My mother took the stand. She didn't lie. That almost made it worse. She described Tyler as loving, confused, heartbroken. She said he missed my children. Then she looked toward the judge. The baby is fine now. My chest tightened. The baby is fine. As though survival erased what happened. When it was my turn, I didn't cry. I read my timeline. The time, the bottle, the hospital, the school, the messages, the violations, every fact, nothing more. The judge granted the protective order. 5 years. Tyler was prohibited from contacting me or my children. I walked outside. My mother passed me in the hallway. She didn't look at me. And strangely, that hurt more than anything she'd said. The criminal case ended a few months later. Tyler accepted a plea. He was ordered into treatment and placed under strict supervision. No contact with my family. No alcohol. No exceptions. My mother called that night. "Are you happy now?" I didn't answer. She continued. "You got what you wanted." "No," I said quietly. "I got what Nora needed." There was a long silence. Then my mother said something I'll never forget. "If you don't withdraw that protective order, don't call me your mother anymore." I looked down the hallway. Nora was sleeping. Lily was reading in her room. Marcus was standing beside me. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a little girl being forced to choose between her parents. I was a mother. "I guess I'll miss you, Mom." Then I hung up. That was the last conversation we had for almost a year. Life became smaller, but safer. Thanksgiving was 4 people instead of 12. Christmas was quieter. Lily stopped asking why Grandma didn't visit. Eventually, she stopped asking altogether. I started attending a support group for families affected by addiction. The first night, I sat in the back. An older woman beside me squeezed my hand. "You can love someone," she said, "and still lock the door." I cried, because nobody in my family had ever taught me that. 10 months passed. Then I got a call from Tyler's probation officer. He had missed appointments, stopped attending treatment, started drinking again. There was a warrant for his arrest. My stomach tightened. What do I do if he comes here? The answer was simple. You don't open the door. I wrote the instructions down. I told Marcus. Then life went on, until one Friday night in August. It was 11:42 p.m. The kids were asleep. Marcus was working out of town. I had just turned off the hallway light when my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Front porch. I opened the camera and there he was, Tyler. Standing on my porch. His clothes were dirty. His hair was wet with sweat, and at his feet was an almost empty bottle. He started pounding on the door. "Claire." I froze. Then Lily's bedroom door opened upstairs. "Mom," I hurried to her. "Go into my room." "Why?" "Just do what Mommy says." She looked frightened. "Someone outside." I nodded. "You're safe." I locked my bedroom door behind us. Then I returned to the hallway. Tyler was still shouting, "Claire, I know you're in there." My phone showed 2 options. Call, ignore. I knew the law. I knew the order. I knew the warrant. I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. But knowing something and doing it are different things. Then Tyler started crying. "Please, Claire." His voice changed. For 1 second he sounded 11 years old. The little boy sitting beside me at the dinner table. The boy who asked if Dad was sick. "Please open the door." I closed my eyes. Then came the bargaining. "Call the judge. Tell them you forgive me. I'll go to rehab. I swear." Then anger. "You've always thought you were better than me." Then the sentence that stopped me cold. "Nora is fine." My hand tightened around the phone. "Nora is fine." Claire, there it was. The same lie. The same family disease. The same excuse that had protected my father. The same excuse that had protected Tyler. The same excuse my mother had repeated in court. I looked toward Lily's room. Then I looked at the front door, and I finally understood what my whole life had been preparing me for. Not how to save him. How to stop saving him. I opened the speaker. "Tyler." He went silent. "It's me, Claire, please. I love you." He started crying. "I do, but I'm not opening this door. Please." "I'm not calling the judge." His breathing became ragged. "I'm calling the police." "No, I have one rule, Tyler." He stopped. "You knew that rule." His face changed. For a second, I saw the 17-year-old boy from our childhood. The kid who had stood between our father and the bedroom door. "You knew why I made it." He wiped his face. Then whispered, "Claire, I'm not abandoning you." I took a breath. "I'm stopping the cycle." Then I called 911. I gave them the address. I told them there were children inside. I told them my brother was intoxicated and had an active warrant. Then I sat down on the hallway floor and waited. 7 minutes. That's how long it took. 7 minutes of Tyler pounding on the door. 7 minutes of him begging. 7 minutes of me refusing to move. Then headlights appeared. A police cruiser pulled up. Tyler stopped. His shoulders dropped. He sat down on the porch. The fight seemed to leave him all at once. The officers approached. He didn't resist. As they handcuffed him, he looked directly into the camera. I couldn't hear what he said. Maybe he said my name. Maybe he said goodbye. Maybe he said nothing. I don't know. The cruiser drove away. The porch became empty. I stayed on the floor. Lily came out of my bedroom. Is Uncle Tyler gone? Les, is he okay? I pulled her into my arms. He's gonna get help. She nodded. Then she asked the question that nearly broke me. Are we safe? I held her tighter. Les. For the first time in my life, I said it without wondering if it was true. The next morning, I made pancakes. Nora sat in her high chair throwing blueberries onto the floor. Lily had syrup in her hair. Marcus came home that afternoon. And for the first time in months, our house felt ordinary. A week later, Tyler entered a residential treatment program. 90 days, medical supervision. No leaving whenever he felt uncomfortable. No calling mom to rescue him. No calling me to fix it. He had to stay, he had to face it. And maybe, for the first time, he had to live without someone standing underneath him. 6 weeks later, I received a letter. My name was written on the envelope in Tyler's handwriting. I almost threw it away. Instead, I opened it. He didn't ask me to drop the order. He didn't ask for money. He didn't blame mom. He didn't say he was misunderstood. He named what he'd done. The bottle. The alcohol. The hospital. The dinner. The porch. Everything. Then he wrote something that made me put the letter down. He said he finally understood why I had labeled everything in my house. Because growing up, nothing had ever been named. Not Dad's drinking. Not Mom's enabling. Not Tyler's addiction. Not the damage. He wrote, "You were the first person in our family who ever told me the truth." I cried. Not because everything was fixed. It wasn't. Not because I was ready to forgive him. I wasn't. I cried because maybe the truth had finally reached him. I kept the letter. I didn't answer. Not yet, maybe someday. But if that day comes, it will happen because Tyler has changed, not because everyone else got tired of waiting. My mother and I eventually exchanged one message. She asked how Nora was. I sent her a picture. Nora was sitting on our back porch, laughing with both hands covered in watermelon juice. My mother never responded. And I stopped waiting for her to. A few months later, Nora took her first steps. 4 tiny steps across the living room, the same room where I had once counted her breaths. She reached the front door and slapped both hands against it. Then she laughed. That laugh filled the entire house. I sat on the floor and watched her. And for the first time, the front door didn't feel like a barrier. It felt like a promise. A promise that inside this house, we would name things honestly. If someone was drinking, we'd say they were drinking. If someone was hurting, we'd say they were hurting. If something was dangerous, we'd call it dangerous. And if someone we loved crossed a boundary, love would not require us to pretend they hadn't. For most of my life, I thought forgiveness meant forgetting. Now I know better. Real forgiveness has a memory. It remembers the hospital. It remembers the fear. It remembers the child standing at the top of the stairs asking if everyone was safe. And it remembers the door. The door I finally locked. Because sometimes loving someone doesn't mean opening the door when they knock. Sometimes love means refusing to open it until they're sober enough to understand why it was closed. And sometimes the person you're saving isn't the one standing outside. Sometimes it's the child standing behind you. The child who trusts you to finally tell the truth.